Hello, my name is Tosca Bruno van Vijwijken and I am the Program Director for the Transnational NGO Leadership Institute, which is housed in the TNGO initiative. Now, we launched a couple of years ago the Transnational NGO Leadership Institute, and that has, as its first program, as you know, is geared towards preparing leaders at an individual basis for the specific transition from second tier of leadership to top tier positions. And today I'm undertaking an interview with Alejandro Salas, and he is the regional director for the Americas of Transparency International, a very influential organization within the sector of fighting corruption and promoting good governance. So thank you for allowing us to interview us today. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Tosca. I'm very happy to be here and to share a little bit of my experience.
And I'm also enjoying having you as a participant in our program. But tell us, for those who don't really know Transparency International's nature of the organization and its mission, what are they?
Of course, we're a global coalition, no? So it's a group of non-governmental organizations based all around the world. We have now 110 members. And basically what we do is that we go against corruption, we promote transparency, we promote accountability, good governance, and we do this with an approach that is mainly based in prevention. So we try to intervene in the systems that allow for corruption to flourish. No, so it's not so much about chasing individual cases or people, but we try to see what's in the system, what's in an institution that allows for someone to engage in corrupt practices. And that's where we act. And that means, of course, changing laws, improving systems, working more with, for example, electronic government, improving procurement systems, and a whole range of things. No? So it's how to avoid depending in an individual, if he or she is good or bad. That's not the main issue. It's how the system is strong enough to avoid depending only in the individual.
And so the focus, if it's on prevention, it means, amongst others, that it is not so much focused on investigative journalism or exposure of corruption. Is that correct?
You are correct, and it's not because it's not important. Actually, it's extremely important, but it's mostly because we don't have the resources, we don't have the mandates. No, we're not a police, we're not an investigation organization, but of course we partner. I think this is very important in our sector, is that no one can claim having the monopoly of fighting corruption. No? It's such a complex, it's a multi-dimensional problem. So you can find corruption in politics, in business, in small localities, at the federal level. You can find it in the industry of mining, you can find it, you name it, it can appear everywhere. So a small or a medium size or a big NGO cannot claim to be able to deal with it in all its dimensions. So that's why partnerships are so important, because we are not experts in mining and we are not experts in local level development, but we can enter into dialogue with those that are the experts and bring the anti-corruption angle to their work.
So tell us how you individually got interested in transnational activism, I'll just call it like that, and how did you become a regional director in Transparency International?
Oh, thank you for that question. I like it very much, because especially when talking to students, because I studied political science in Mexico. And of course I had big dreams of going to the government, trying to promote change from the inside. I started working, after I finished my career, in the social development ministry. And my boss was very close to someone that became the presidential candidate. No, he was a presidential candidate. He was very likely to become president. And I had a very junior position, but I was able to be near the circles of power. So I was fascinated, because I could see real politics from a very close distance. But I could also see a lot of corruption from a close distance. I mean, I could see governors, I could see mayors, I could see senators, and I could see some of the dirty dealings from a close distance. No? And I think that was, for me, something that really motivated me. At some point, I said, you know, I'm too good for politics. I think politics are too dirty, and I'm not. And I decided to work from the outside in that issue of corruption, because I believe that for my country, for Mexico, that was one of the biggest stumbling blocks for the development of the country. So I decided to start working with the government, never against the government, but with the government, but from the outside, with some distance. Yeah. And by doing this, I was recruited by Transparency International at the beginning to work in a program in Central America, and later on, through time and effort, I was invited to be the director for the region. I
see. So now you came to the Institute. You know how we kind of frame the curriculum in terms of making a number of leaps, leadership leaps from second tier to top tier level. Tell us more about how you feel, how you're currently preparing for your next leap to another level of leadership. What is that all about?
Well, the program for me was extremely attractive because, of course, like most professionals, I have ambitions. I want to continue my professional path of growth. I think, as I was saying earlier, I started in a junior position within Transparency International, and through time, I have been there for 10 years. Yeah. I kept on growing in positions. And I think I developed a very self-made style of management. Oh. No? So in this sense, I'm conscious of certain qualities and limitations that I have in my style. And I think I needed more interlocutors, but not only the experts, the faculty here, I mean, that's extremely important, but also the opportunity to link with my peers from other organizations. Yeah. Because I had been made pretty much to the style or with my reduced environment at Transparency International, which is not bad in itself, but I need to see and learn a little bit more from the broader world. Right. And for me, that was very important, because I think that if I make the next leap in transparency or somewhere else, I need to be much more aware of the external world, hear my peers, learn from them, and I think the program is excellent for that.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. But let me first ask you, what do you think, based on your experience of observing other leaders, second tier as well as top tier, and based on the 2 first days that you have attended so far, what are some distinct differences between top level and second tier?
Well, that's a very good question, because I think when you are in the top level, I feel, I haven't been there, that's what I observe, is that you are very alone in a way. Of course, you are very important, no? You are the CEO or the managing director or whatever, but as a regional director, I have my close friend of colleagues, which are the other regional directors. So I can sit with the director of Africa, of the Asia Pacific, and somewhere we're peers, we can help each other. Yeah. I can imagine the same happens in different structures, but the CEO or the managing director is a bit alone. I mean, everybody responds to him or her and etc., but there must be moments when it must be, I just imagine, a bit lonely. Also, the level of responsibility, of course, grows a lot. No, I think I still have flexibility, some room for mistakes, for giving steps back. Of course, the CEO as well, but I think it's more risky and there are more things at stake. Yeah. No, so I think probably those are two things to admire about that top level, and 2 things among many others that I've been discovering throughout these days, and I will continue the rest of the week, that one needs to be very, very aware of.
I see. Were there any particular expectations of things you hope to gain this week that are not necessarily reflected in the curriculum and that you think are important to prepare yourself for this next leap?
Well, I think something very important, and I personally have never been skillful at making it, is that beyond, I mean, with the people here in the group, we already established very good relationships. We joke, we feel comfortable. Right. But what I really want is that when this week is over, not with everybody, that's not going to happen, but at least 2 or 3 that we can keep on the conversation, not as friends only, but also in terms of exchanging some of our challenges, supporting us, because we're in very different sectors. We don't compete.
Right.
You know, I think that will be extremely beneficial. So I have a lot of expectation of being able to achieve that, which of course depends a lot in the individuals, but I think also the way you have set up the week will be very beneficial for that. I think there's an enabling environment in the conversations we have. There are more relaxed moments where we are still talking about work, but during dinner, we are going to the lake tomorrow. So, you know, I think you are giving us the enabling environment to talk about issues, about work, but at the same time start engaging in a more personal way with each other. I think that's...
And might that mean that you might also be interested in a kind of informal peer mentoring, that you would structure yourself, initiate yourself after this, or not necessarily that kind of intervention, if that's how I want to call it?
Definitely. Definitely that's something very...
It sounds very close to what you just described. That's why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah, no, and I just heard one of the CEOs that have been with us as part of the program, sharing their experiences, just mentioning that, no, that they had like a peer or a coach, or you know, I think these things are very important. One tends to think, oh, I'm very busy, I have so many things to do, and that's right. I mean, I'm busy 10 hours a day, etc. And then you tend to put that on the side, and always. It's kind of a burden. But I think that as I grow in the organization, as I start seeing the bigger picture, I'm moving from seeing only my job and my challenges and doing them into playing more in favor of the whole organization, not only in my job, but I think that's part of the growth in the position, in being part of a management team. So I will need to invest in that. I will need to invest in keeping contact with a peer, having a coach, having someone.
I see. Jumping back to Transparency International for a moment, and this is my next but last question. What does TI do in terms of, some people call it talent management, some people call it a leadership pipeline preparation, leadership transition and succession? How does it deal with that? And what's the quality of how it deals with that?
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you, because I think this is about being honest.
Yeah.
I think we are not great at that yet. No, we are. I think for an international organization, we're relatively young. We're 20 years old, so we are still teenagers. We are convinced that our 2 main strengths are our brand, our name, our reputation, and the other one is our people. I think we have done a lot, and we're doing a lot to keep the brand and the recognition, the reputation high. But we haven't invested that much into the human resources, into our people. And I think that's something that is coming and gaining strength. I have to tell you, this is my own interpretation, but the fact that I'm here, supported financially and in terms of giving me the time to spend here, it was a very easy, fast decision from my boss to say, yeah, I think this is a great opportunity. So I think that's a little example of the organization trying to move in that direction, trying to go beyond the discourse that people are important into putting the money, the time, and the efforts into supporting staff development.
Right. So then my last question is, can you just give me an example after you've only attended and contributed, I should say, to 2 days of the Institute. Can you just tell me 1 or 2 examples of things you've learned that were aha moments, things that that were outside your horizon before coming here?
Well, something I really loved the first day has been, these easy questionnaires, these tests. I mean, I know there's a lot of research work, psychology behind them, but just these questionnaires where you can get feedback on your personality in relation to your characteristics as a leader.
Yeah.
I think that's very important because that makes you feel that you are being taken care of in terms of the training as an individual. You are not necessarily, not because you are a manager of an international NGO, you have to be the same as the one next to you. I mean, we are, actually, I'm sitting, the 2 days I have been sitting next to one that is completely different to me according to the tests.
Yeah.
So it's very important for me to be aware, thanks to these tests, which somehow reinforce my own self-perception. It's not that suddenly I discover I'm an extrovert, and I always thought I was an introvert. No, but you know, it gives you these things that, given at the beginning of the week, I carry them with me all the time. No? So when we're talking more about organizational change, when we're talking more about structures and those things, I always remember them. And I think in a situation like this, I would need the support of somebody with these characteristics. I think in a situation like that, I will react well. I can handle. And you know, I'm playing with that self-consciousness of my own awareness, of my own strengths and weaknesses with the other things that we are discussing. No? And the other thing I really loved is when we had the opportunity of having 2 CEOs in the dinner last night, the 2 of them in a very informal dialogue telling us about those things that they would have liked to know or be aware of before taking their job. Because that's like something, it's not something you read in the books necessarily. It's something, it's insider information, it's anecdotal, it's personal.
It is. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this interview.
Thanks to you, and thanks for the whole week.
Oh, well, I do enjoy helping making it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much.